Hey, good evening, everybody. It is Steve with Real Progressives. And tonight I'm going to take a slight departure from the economic narrative. I'm sure I'll sprinkle some in here. But tonight I'm really going to focus on something that I think is extremely important to not just our movement, but in our own personal lives and our own sanity. I believe, unfortunately, many of us have mistaken just outward anger with somehow or another being effective revolutionary. And, for me, I'm not going to lie, I have a rage problem sometimes. There's a part of me that wants to well up and just really, really wants to knock taste out of someone's mouth. I get this anger inside me and it doesn't satisfy. It doesn't really do much for me other than give me a tension headache. I don't really get anywhere. But there is a way to express your anger and there is a way to do something about that anger. And tonight what I want to talk to you about is knowledge. And I want to talk to you about wasting your time, and I want to talk to you about investing your time. We have spent so much of our lives, I have spent so much of my life fucking off, dicking around, chasing girls, chasing highs, chasing drunks, chasing this, chasing that, chasing excitement, chasing experiences. And it was only later on that I decided that I was going to stop running from learning and I was going to invest my energy in being smart and educating myself and filling my mind with things that mattered. Spiritual growth, political growth, growth about any subject matter that was of interest, of value. And, I'm very much, obviously much of my time is spent talking about economics because I see that as the linchpin to all these other wants and needs and desires that we have. Good evening, Rochelle. But I want to make a clear point. In the progressive future that I'm pushing for, that I'm fighting for, and that many of you are joining me in fighting for, we're looking at a well-rounded society. We're not just looking at people that are mathematicians or good at fixing cars or working on computers or project managers or whatever. We're looking at the full spectrum, right? We're looking at reviving the arts. We're looking at taking care of all aspects of society, not just part of society. And, I see a lot of people out there just angry, and they spend more time trolling. They spend more time just negating the efforts of people that are really, really working hard to educate. And their lives have got to be a miserable abscess. And so much of that comes from ignorance. How are you doing, Nancy? When you're ignorant, your options for what to do are very, very limited. When you're angry, your options are so minimal. You don't really think, you don't expand the scope of possibilities. And your frustration ends up catapulting you to stupidity, to stupid things. You lose focus, and all of a sudden, you absolutely lose your power. You give your power up. What I'm trying to teach folks through focusing on economics is that by educating one another, by educating ourselves, we can take the power back. We can take that power back. Our enemy is very, very smart. Our enemy is very, very knowledgeable. They're not just angry. They hold the cards because they've taken the time to get rid of the noise focus on what they need and want. For us to have a movement that actually produces fruit, for us to have a movement that actually does something useful, we've got to educate ourselves. I have a motto. It's not my motto. I wish I could take credit for it. It's been around for a long time. That motto is each one teach one. It's an old AA thing. When you go into a room of Alcoholics Anonymous, there's no experts in there. There's just a bunch of drunks. Good orderly direction group of drunks, whatever you want to call it. The person that's been there a little bit longer teaches the newcomer. And the newcomer gives the old timer something to live for by bringing them together. You feel a sense of responsibility when you teach. And when you're learning and you're pouring yourself into it, you grow. And then someone else asks you to teach them. People stay alive. Whether you like AA or not is irrelevant. When you think about the fact of each one teach one, it's a way of expanding the pool of soldiers in this war. And this war is one of knowledge. They make us dumb. They make us stupid. They make us frustrated. They change the narrative. They spin us over here to Russia. Then they come back and they spin us over here about Dem Enter. And oh my God, you guys are just regressive left. They take us all over the map. They get us into end the Fed conspiracies. What does that really do for us? Think about it. They come up with 1 million conspiracies, 1 million boogeymen, all of which you have no power to do anything about. It's a powerless, useless situation. You are stuck in a world that you have no control over. Sorry about that, man. My whiskers are like driving me crazy right now. But what I'm telling you is learning, Francis Graff. I hope you're joking. Lord, I hope you're joking. In any event, when you sit there and you're not very smart and you come up with a lot of myths and legends to fill in the void, you're not doing yourself any services. You're not. It's important to dig in and learn so that the actual war that we have to fight is something that you're equipped to handle. Neoliberalism has swept us away. It has literally taken us away because you see the alternatives and you just assume that we're broke. You assume that our government is out of money because you're out of money, and that's your paradigm. You have to learn beyond your own little world. That's where the bigotry in this world comes from. People live in their own little world, and they just assume that that's what it is. It's time for us to expand our world. It's time for us to see the world through a different set of eyes. In order for you to do that, you've got to dedicate yourself to learning. It's not just enough to be angry. Never lose your sense of outrage, but let your outrage drive you to productive things. And the Fed is a Fed dish, okay? This is the stuff that you hear the people that don't really want to do the homework. They don't really want to actually make change. They just sit there and say things because it's all part of that frustration. They need a boogeyman. You need a boogeyman. They need a boogeyman. They need something to divert their attention from because they feel powerless. So, and the Fed, well, shit, that's another thing that they can get excited about. You know what I mean? This is something that they can get excited about. It's like trolling. It's like a total troll fest. Use your mind. What is it that we want? If you want single-payer health care, if you want paid family and medical leave, if you want free college for all, if you want green energy, do you think talking about the freaking Rothschilds gets you any closer to that? Do you think talking about George Soros gets you any closer to that? I mean, seriously, ask yourself, is the stuff you're reading about in any way, shape, or form helpful? Is it doing a damn thing for you? Or does it just make you part of the Alex Jones fan club? I mean, seriously. You know, I jokingly call the deep state the deep stupid because there's literally not a damn thing you can do about it. The only thing we can do is unite around what it is that we want and what it is that we need. And if we stop coming up with bullshit excuses for not learning, for not educating ourselves, for not being a better citizen, for not being a better friend, for not being a better spokesperson, for not being a better worker, for not being a better whatever, parent, you name it. If we just sit there and focus on these boogeymen and act paralyzed because the deep state's got us, or because the Rothschilds got us, we're stuck, and we're going to march in place, and we're going to get nowhere. I mean, literally, it's a zero, nothing burger. So as I was sitting there on Debbie Lusignan's Sane Progressive show today, I have so many people blocked because I don't waste time with trolls. I don't. I just don't waste any time with them. They're a life suck. Their whole purpose in life is to try to make you unhappy because they lead a miserable existence. And they're miserable because they're uneducated and they're unintelligent. Or maybe they are intelligent, you just don't have any clue how to get smarter. I don't know. Whatever it is, they're miserable people. And they try and bring people down who are actually fighting to try and make progress. That's a shame. So for me, I look at it like this. If our movement ever wants to take on the neoliberals of the world, the true elite, the only way you're going to do that is with knowledge. Sitting there being a troll, sitting there raging out, sitting there saying stupid things in live streams, saying horrible, stupid things. That's not revolutionary. That's a loser. Seriously, that's a sign of a loser, right? I mean, you've got to be a pretty bad-off human being to ever do something like that. So, for our movement to be successful, we need to push the trolls away. If they want to come in, they've got to make the point that they're here for a purpose and that they're ready to learn. Being a troll diverts attention from everyone. Everyone that's trying to learn is stuck dealing with this sickness, this perversion of humanity. And when you think about it, it is the single most difficult challenge when you're dealing with social media is bypassing the worthlessness of the trolls. I mean, you can block as many of them as you want, but ultimately, there's yet again more worthlessness where that came from. So you know for a fact that that's not getting us any closer to anything meaningful or revolutionary. You're not making any change. You're not getting anywhere. You're not helping anybody. You're doing nothing. You're actually tearing down. You're tearing down the efforts of people who are fighting. I look at it like this. If this movement ever has a chance, even a remote chance, of making the kind of impact that we could have, This each one teach one, it's got to be more than a mantra. It's got to become a way of life. We've got to look for opportunities to teach each other. We've got to look for opportunities to go out there and knock down myths and knock down legends and fill ignorance with truth and knowledge. I don't know how else to do this, folks. It's too big of a massive uphill battle by yourself. Any one of us alone, it's too big for us. This battle's far greater than any of us could handle on our own. And to quote from back in the day, not me, us, that's really what it's about. You know, each one teach one, not me, us. Knowledge is power. Once you know that they're screwing you by not spending on the 99%, once you stop believing that our great nation is somehow or another in paralyzing debt, once you stop believing that China owns America and that our great central bank is owned by foreigners, and once you stop all this paralyzing lies and you start owning our power and demanding, you can't demand if you're ignorant. If you have a fetish, you're not going to be able to demand anything useful. It's up to us. It's up to us. It's up to you and me to spread knowledge. Now, last night, the Green Party had a panel discussion. And in that panel discussion were 3 people and a moderator. Warren Mosler was on that stage or in that panel. Warren Mosler is not only a great man, but Warren Mosler is also the only one on that stage, only one on that panel that knew his ass from his elbow. Warren Mosler handled himself with grace. He's been handling himself with grace for a very, very long time. Unfortunately, we live in a society that has forgotten what it means to be smart, that has forgotten what it means to be knowledgeable. So we live for bumper sticker politics. I want to create a new one that says, end the fetish. Because the reality is that we've got a lot of myths and legends that we've used to fill the gap instead of actual knowledge. And you could see that in that panel discussion last night. You had a lot of lies being told, and they weren't being rebuked. They were allowed to stand. And that was brutal to me. That was absolutely brutal to me. To watch people tell lies and have it be considered just as equal as what Warren had to say, to me, was anti-intellectualism at its finest. These are the things that as a movement we cannot afford. We cannot afford ignorance. We cannot afford laziness when it comes to seeking knowledge. We cannot afford to fill in a gap of our own lack of knowledge with a myth or a legend. Everything that we put in front of saving lives is a time suck. It's a waste. Every one of these, well, we got to fix the Fed before we're able to give you single payer. We can't do anything until we do this. Every single time you have someone like a Positive Money or American Monetary Institute come out and tell their lies about fractional reserve lending, which ended in 1934. Every time they're given the right to speak a lie as if it were truth, we are losing knowledge. Warren did his best up there on that stage to help educate masses of people. But as many of you all have seen me do, this worthless book right here, this book of legends that so many people have sucked into and spew it as if it is First Luke, First John, Leviticus. This is the Bible of Alex Jones. It's garbage. You take a little bit of truth, mix in a whole bunch of lies, and all of a sudden you've got yourself a bona fide conspiracy. And sadly, this is what we're facing in our movement. Anti-intellectualism, myths and legends. We complain about the GOP being climate science deniers. But here we have fetishizers. We have a situation where we've got people that are just as bad as those fools bringing a snowball into the Senate and the Congress to talk about climate change as our Fed and our frickin' monetary system. We've got the same kind of denierism on the left as they do on the right. We've got an awful lot of work to do to ever have a real progressive revolution. The sickness that is pervasive in our movement is lethal to progress. If you're chasing the Easter Bunny, if you're chasing Saint Nick, and you're not chasing single-payer health care and green energy today, if you're fetishizing the Fed, if you're fetishizing debt and deficits, you have forsaken any chance of progress. Anti-intellectualism on the left is almost as bad as the anti-intellectualism on the right. There is no reason that a revolutionary needs to create a fake story to lead a revolution. The truth is much worse than the fantasy. The truth is that our government knows that it can spend on us and doesn't do it. The truth is that our government is not broke at all, and yet they tell us that they're broke. That right there, my friends, is far more scary than something that happened in 1913 with all Woody Wilson and the creature of Jekyll Isle. The truth is that today people are living under bridges unnecessarily. The truth is that people are going bankrupt because they don't have actual rights to health care. They're going broke. They're dying of heart attacks because they can't afford the preventative care, because health care is not a right in America, because we're busy trying to end the Fed. Things like that. When you see that sort of stuff, you know you're in the presence of anti-intellectuals. You know you're in the presence of people that are not placing lives first. And it's up to us to go out there and educate. It's up to us to take the power and give that to them so that they see that we can do these things today, that we are in fact not powerless. We are not powerless at all. But when we are divided by myths and legends, the same people that decry religion as the opiate of the masses have created their own religion of myths, legends, and conspiracies, anti-intellectualism. Knowledge is power. And if we as a movement don't embrace knowledge, our oppressors who have all the power they need will continue to keep us right where we are. Truth is more powerful than any myth or legend. We have got to stop acting like the caveman, drawing pictures on walls, coming up with the big flat earth theories and crazy nonsense. And we need to begin to focus on exactly what we need to survive. I need I don't even need, I want healthcare as a right. I don't want to worry about a bill for my healthcare. I don't want to worry about the water supply being poisoned because of fossil fuels. I want clean water. I want to not have big corporations and others to be able to make us destitute by firing us or laying us off, and us having no recourse to survive. We have no ability to survive when they make their business decision. We need a federal job guarantee to take that power back. The public purpose demands it. That, my friends, is knowledge. Sitting there telling people they should have made better choices is religion. Doing something about it, that's heroic. And it takes knowledge. I am done with the people that inbox me with bullshit. I'm done with people that sit there and pipe off and troll. I am not afraid to call someone out. I am not afraid to call them a fucking murderer by proxy. I am not afraid to wake people up. And I don't care, sadly. I wish everybody was my best friend. I do. I really do. But I want my kids to have a better earth, a better life than I did. And I'm willing to go down for the count to prevent these trolls and to prevent these anti-intellectuals from wrecking it for them. I don't know what you guys would do for your children, but there's very little I wouldn't do for them. I want us as a movement to embrace knowledge and to embrace seeking knowledge and to embrace one another in knowledge. Love and knowledge. It's time to put the trolls out of business. It's time to make them either get with the program and learn or push them aside so their noise doesn't infect our opportunities to change the world. I want you to think about this. In whatever fashion you think, whatever things you find important, whatever drives your inner spirit to do something, whatever you feel is important, and invest some time in learning it. Invest some time in teaching it. Invest some time in activating. Don't let yourself feel powerless. Own your power. And all these freaking myths and legends that make us feel hopeless and helpless, get rid of the noise. It's useless. Focus on knowledge. Focus on gaining knowledge. Focus on living it. So with that, I'm Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys take something, learn it, and then teach me. You guys, teach one another. Let's build a movement that has staying power and has the ability to move mountains. Let's not let these people that want to distract and tear down, do not let them have the time of day. Push the noise away and focus on getting shit done. I'm out. Have a great night, everybody.